So then, we are back with more understanding from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find then the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Israelic lineage. So then we can understand the time of the end as per Yeshayahu the prophet. We find in the 61st chapter relates with the time of the restoration, and then also indicating this time of restoration related with other prophets such as Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, and also related with Galah. There is a section of it related also with it, as far as we can understand, because the first, second, and third chapters of Revelation do not belong with Revelation. They belong with then the time of the spring feast, or then the time of the restoration. Chapter 1:8 certainly belongs with the time of the restoration. There was then in the news from ABC News regarding then the economy of China going into crisis. It is absolutely ridiculous. Don't believe a bit of it, because they are not knowledgeable of the scripture. Let's understand why. We understand then Daniel the 11th chapter related with then the kingdom of the north and the kingdom of the south. We understand the kingdom of the north is then the Soviet Union. The kingdom of the south is then Africa. The kingdom of the east then we understand simply is China. China is the factory of these systems engine. So any claim of any other nation stating that China then is going to be in crisis, it is absolutely ridiculous. So then do not believe the least. Let's understand then why. Daniel the prophet has then the regular scripture 12 chapters. There are 2 extra chapters you can find then in the Apocrypha. For instance, Bel and the dragon. Bel was a known god of the Babylonians. What do we understand of any other than the Holy Scripture? Babylonian system. Our country, for instance, is then replete with Babylonian culture. Our calendar, the Gregorian calendar, was based upon the Babylonian calendar. Our religion, mostly Christianity, was based upon Babylonian culture. Our country is replete with the Babylonian culture. What do we understand of Bel and then the dragon? Very simple. When Daniel the prophet received the holy instructions, and then also when Yohanan received the holy instructions, why did they not mention regarding then China related with, for instance, Daniel the 2nd chapter? Why wasn't? Because the base of the statue deals with those nations that are iron, those nations that are clay. Very understandable. Why was not mentioned then China as being the iron? Because the kingdom of iron is gone. Was then Rome and the legs of iron? So there is no relation with the name of a country, but a region. Region, you have to understand then Daniel the prophet, and understand when he was receiving those understandings during the time of the restoration period. You have to know how to read the instructions. The restoration period gives you then the understandings of the kingdom of the north, the kingdom of the south, and the kingdom of the east. When you read Galah or Revelation, then you find then the kingdom of the east. So there is no crisis of any kind regarding the government of China. These ridiculous reports are absolutely plain, blunt lies. So let's understand and maintain our course with what the Creator has stated. Let's read His instructions. Where do we find in the kingdom of the East? Very simple. We must understand then Ezekiel, the 37th chapter. What does it say? What does it state? Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, states the two sticks of authority. What are those? The regular instruction when you read from the Israelic lineage, though without filtering. The Hebrews scandalized, stating the kingdom of the north of their own and the kingdom of the south of their own. Let me ask you this: did the Creator separate the nation? No. First, they should not have not even a kingdom. Yes, if you can remind yourself, when then Samuel was the prophet. Samuel was the leader of the country. But then the nation decided to have a king, thus kingdom. Now when we relate the words of the Creator, can we consider kingdom in his own area? No. There is no kingdom. We are speaking the time of the restoration per the original manuscripts, the original instructions. Did the nation of Israel were then instructed to get a kingdom for themselves or elect a king for themselves? No. Because of their disobedience, they were granted with it, but it was not the first holy instructions. The restoration period does not include kingdom. We must focus yet the kingdom to come government. So there is no kingdom. So let's understand and make sure we have the absolute clarity regarding the kingdom of China. Ever is going to never ever have any kind of a crisis, as far as we are then reading and expecting some financial crisis. Never. Read the instructions. What is the understanding of Bel and the dragon? What do we understand? As far as what period of time are we at? We are in the period of dragon. What do you understand of Bel? Bel is Babylonian system. Christianity came from Babylonian system. So when you read Daniel, the extra chapters in the Apocrypha, what do you read? It's a spiritual understanding of Bel, Babylonian system, with a dragon. You have to understand the content of those two chapters. Why is it this way? Because iron was already given to Rome. When you read, for instance, Daniel the prophet, there is a section of it related then with the mixing of the set apart with the world for a time. Thus the time of the seat. During this time of the seat, when they were mixing, generated a mixture with the Babylonian system, Bel. Bel and the dragon. What do we understand at the time? Bel, Babylonian. Christianity's Babylonian system. It's disguised. And dragon. Relationship of the dragon and false system. Would be the set apart mixing with the world for a time. Generated Bel. Babylonian system. Related with the time of the restoration. Why do we know it's a time of restoration? Because it relates with the base of the statue. It gives you the understanding of the relationship of Bel, Babylonian system. That's why you understand then the kingdom of the north are in charge of filtering the trade of those nations from the lineage of Bel. The dragon is pure trade. When you understand then the kingdom of the north filtering through any kind of a Babylonian system, extracting pure trade from it and related then with China. China is pure trade. Then you begin to understand, never in any condition the economy of China is going to be at risk. Never. Not for a long time. So only because a few nations are in trouble, in financial trouble, and they have no answers, does not mean the rest of the world are alike. The Holy Instructions is giving us the answers. But we must study the instructions. And also there is a very important point regarding the BRICS. We understand Soviet Union is going to become greater than previously. This means only an understanding. Whatsoever Mr. Putin wants, he gets. Because the engine system must start. And the world is waiting for Mr. Putin. Europe is entangled. America is lost. The South, they have the Mercosur, and then Brazil, the most influential of South America, under the guideship of the Soviets. China under the Soviets. You can understand why. Brazil, China, India, the Soviets themselves, and then South Africa. There is a reason for it. It does not give the understanding of planning. You know, person making plans. Then you find the factory, China, east. You find the planner, north. And the rest of them get to work. So then when we read Daniel the prophet, never forget there are 2 extra chapters. Couple more chapters related with Daniel. Bel and the dragon. Isn't that interesting? Plain straight in the very title of it. Bel and the dragon. So let's make sure we understand. If Africa wants improvement in their quality of living, they must understand when they make a deal with the Soviet Union, it's very simple. They provided equipment at some point, and they want the minerals. Get the minerals out of the mine, at the port, they come and get it. If the Africans don't understand this much, then they are retarded. Not only fierce, then stupid and retarded. Because the kingdom of the north, they have the backing of heaven. Don't forget. Read the instructions. So let's try not to upset the starting of the engine, and let's understand we are waiting for Mr. Putin's agenda. We've got our own homework to do. We understand the Messiah saying the freighters of the earth are in charge. We understand when the Chinese system becomes available, then freighting is the only way of having a record or a track of what was spent. So let's try to understand where this is going. The Messiah said, and the freighters of the earth. He did not say kingdom of any kind. So then governments must line up themselves with the freighters. When they do this, then we understand when the system comes, People are going to download the Chinese system in their computers. It's precisely nearly the same as having eBay, but then you have also investment. You search through a search engine, you find thousands upon thousands of products. But you think a product is going to be then sold in the market, many countries would buy it. You invest in a product. You have your linking over there with the Bank of China, you have funding, you invest in a product. A month later, you get your tiny portion of it. Multiply by 10,000, 900,000, or 6 digits or more. You get a nice paycheck at the end of the month. If you know how to use it. The government can't read it. The situation is, since our government is not very smart, let's try to explain this in simple terms. There are steps of formation when a person understands the system. So then, the 2008 house bust involving Citigroup, for instance, and many other banks. It was an absolutely shame of the worst kind. Then, sometime later came the Chinese and they bought it. Was it a great deal? We thought it was a great deal because it was a piece of junk. But they were not after the deal, they were after the system. So then, the understanding is, if they have a system of their own that is always in a positive, why would they buy another system that is absolutely a piece of junk? You have to have a reason behind it. They purchased this system because they know it's easily adaptable. When the time comes, they simply adapt the mortgage system into their own system. So when the new Chinese system comes and you download in your computer, you can pay your mortgage via the system. You invest, you receive, and you pay your mortgage. The idea behind this is eliminating the US monetary system. If you can't understand this much, then you are simply retarded. And then you find, if you are a smart person, you listen to the shortwave radio. There are news from every nation, mostly. So when you hear the information from the Pacific, the shortwave waves are simply humming with the information from the Pacific. Because the Pacific, they are already preparing themselves for this system. Then you find Bank of China linking directly with Australia without a US monetary system already. You find in China and New Zealand. Then you find China in South Africa. What other areas do you want to approve of? Then you find politicians from other countries such as New Zealand clearing up the backlogs. Wait a minute. Governments, they thrive with problems. Now the island then is clearing up the backlogs. Then you put your head to work. If you are clearing the backlogs, it's because of the desire for the balance to become positive. If you have the aim of a positive balance, it's because you want to invest. You can't invest much if your balance is negative. So when the system comes, then obviously New Zealand wants their economy on a positive because they invest and the Chinese market always goes up. Because their system of factoring is the same of US in the 50s. It's a military style of factoring. Now let's understand in the Soviet Union. Formerly they were a great nation. We find then Daniel the 11th chapter is stating of the Soviet Union, but then grander than previously. Let's link up then China and the Soviet Union. They are already linked. But then the relationship. Let's understand why. You have China, socialist. Soviet Union used to be socialist, wasn't it? So you can expect that in the very near future, the Soviet Union obviously becoming again socialist. Because as we understand the relationship of the Kingdom of the North and the Kingdom of the South, we understand Africa has only one chance making a relationship with the Soviets. It's their only chance. So then equipment is brought down, and they want the mines, they want the ores. And we understand China, the Kingdom of the North, and South Africa, they are already linked up. So then you hear news from someplace else where then crisis in the economy of China. It's ridiculous. Fairy tales of the worst kind. Because the people are ignorant of the holy instructions. The Kingdom of the East, North, and South, those are the engine of the system. During this time of 36 months, if we don't do our homework, our monetary system is going down. No wonder they built the Ozarks, as far as they're building over there. Now, if you are a person, you are an American, and you act as an ostrich, there are problems, but then you don't want to be concerned with those and you stick your head in the dirt, then you don't understand. IMF seriously works with nations and their economies. 2 years ago they told us, 5 years, if you don't straighten out your economy because you have your bad habit of printing money without limit, it won't hold for more than 5 years. 2 years is already gone. We've got 36 months. We understand the Chinese system is coming. China is already linked up with the Soviet Union. Soviet Union is already linked up with South Africa. South Africa is already linked up with China. And then the Soviets, the planners, are the leaders of the BRICS. Thus, you understand, Bel and the Dragon. And there are reports that our president received some sort of information via mail and had ricin in it. Deadly poison. Obviously, there are people in his country that he wants his head. So let's understand the economy the way it works. Not being playing around with NRA. The NRA was a novel generated by the government and didn't work. A lot of money was spent in it, a lot of overtime. And then the politicians, they are not paying for it. So it's very easy making feast with somebody else's money when it does not come out of their pockets. NRA was a shame. And worst of it, if you study the documents of this country, back during the militia times, NRA was responsible of training. And they were the maintainers of the records of arms of the militia, and also the projectiles along with it. Constantly, in a case of war, then they had a record. So each area of our country was then guided by a general or a similar person in charge of a region of our country. When the army was in shortage and there was a draft, NRA would be instantly given a report to this general of this region, and this general or similar authority would relate directly with the president. That's Army Auxiliary, besides training the people these days, obviously. And they were training those early militias to maintain themselves disciplined. There is a document in the internet. Read it. Now then, the president, because of his lack of knowledge, then he tries to go against the very system that our country generated. He doesn't show a person, he's not very smart. Obviously, then you take the understanding of an army auxiliary and then you try to go against an army auxiliary, it's not going to work. Because NRA has no link with the police. If scoundrels, they want to get arms and destroy others, the problem is of the police. If they want to protect further those learning establishments, place a metal detector. We knew this NRA novel would end up with nothing. Because they are Army Auxiliary. As long as they hold Army Auxiliary status, they are untouchable. So move on. Either you understand what is Army Auxiliary or then you are retarded. Very unfortunate. The learning establishment there got shut down. So many people got slaughtered. But are you going to change the status of NRA because of it? No, it's considered a crime. Go to the police. So let's understand we have homework to do. Situation North Korea, it's very simple resolving. Having the Asian friends reinstate their North Korean friends because they are from the Asian line. Has to come out a deal from amongst themselves over there where they can control the situation and integrate the North Koreans in the market. They are Asians. And we have to start our instant taxation system. So any other news stating China crisis of economical fashion, don't believe it. We've entered the agenda of the Creator. There are instructions and those must be completed. We are not playing games anymore as during the time of the 1,000 years of deceit and New World Order and those kinds of crap. Those are gone. Ezekiel 37 chapter. A stick is for the sons of Ishmael, and they hold the stick at the moment. Israel has no authority. They have no authority whatsoever because they have no tabernacling. What is the content of the 37th chapter of Ezekiel? Does it not layer with the 61st chapter of Yeshayahu? Time of restoration? And then restoring the stick of authority of tabernacling? For how long the world is going to be deceived? Israel has no authority. The Ishmaelites hold the authority yet, as far as we understand from Scripture. Not until a bit later is going to become more evident. Because the engine of the system is yet being generated. So lots of developments in the next 36 months. But the most important agenda at the moment is of Mr. Putin's.